Hi everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardsisdone.com. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to create an ombre sequin shaker, and I'll also be showing you how to create a really easy distressed oxide ink watercolored background. So without further ado, let's get started on this card. I'm starting out with the trio of 3 stamp sets from My Favorite Things, and I picked out the 2 snowflake stamps. I'm going to stamp these snowflakes on some Canson watercolor paper with VersaMark ink. I cut this paper to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I stamped the largest snowflake first. Then I'm sprinkling on some opaque bright white embossing powder from Wow, just so I can see where I already have some snowflakes and where I need to stamp some extra ones. So next I'm stamping the smallest snowflake of the 2 with VersaMark ink, and then I'm also sprinkling some Wow opaque bright white embossing powder on there, and finally I can heat set these snowflakes with my heat tool. So today I'm using watercolor paper since I'll be using a lot of water to create this background. I'm temporarily adhering my piece of watercolor paper to my craft mat with some washi tape, so that this makes it just a little bit easier to blend my backgrounds, and I also don't have to hold my paper while I'm blending it, which makes it easy to prevent fingerprints. First, I'm using Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink, and next I'm using Broken China. So this background only took me about 5 minutes to make. It looks like I've spent a lot of time on this background, but in reality, it came together really quickly. I was actually impressed by how fast this went. So of course you can also use regular distress inks, but these distress oxide inks are just so much fun to work with. They blend effortlessly. You hardly have to put any pressure on your blending tool while blending these colors. So I also went in with Faded Jeans, and then finally I am just going back in with the same colors to blend everything together nicely. Finally, I'm going to add some water with my Ranger Mister bottle. So I'm just spraying some water on there. I'm also spraying some water in the palm of my hand so I can add some water splatters or little droplets to this paper. I'm using a Kleenex tissue to pick up any puddles of water, and then I just set that aside for a while to dry, and this gives the best results. So you can also speed up the drying process with your heat tool, but I just like to let it air dry. Here I am using the Fa La La die cut from My Favorite Things, and I'll be using this die cut to create an ombre sequin shaker. I'm using this really handy little tool from Spellbinders. This is the tool-in-one, and it allows you to quickly pick those little pieces that are left in your die when you use a intricate die like this one. So it makes it just really easy and fast. Then it's time to start creating my sequin shaker. I'm going to adhere a piece of acetate to the back of this Fa La La cardstock piece with my ATG from Scotch. Whenever I create a sequin shaker, I like to use fun foam because it's quick, it's easy, you can easily cut these pieces to the size you want, and the sequins don't stick to the edges since you have to apply the glue yourself, so there aren't any sticky edges. I like to use Tonic Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. This is a white clear craft glue, but it ends up drying clear. After adhering those pieces of fun foam, I just set this piece aside for a while so that the adhesive can dry completely before we'll be filling this shaker up with sequins. In the meantime, I'm adhering all of those little center pieces for my word dies. I am trying to line these up perfectly. It's a little bit tricky, but I'm just, doing my best so I can line this up and so that it looks like one nice finished piece when this card is completed. So I'm also using the same Tonic Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive to adhere all of those little pieces. Over here I have a standard size A2 note card. This is some Nina Solar White cardstock. I'm using different shades of blue for my sequin shaker. I wanted to create an ombre shaker, so I'm going to fill up my shaker with some lighter blue sequins on the top, and then I'm using some mid-colored blue sequins, and then for the bottom row I'm using the darkest sequins. I also added some clear sequins and some clear little stars. I use this little handy tool from Tonic Nuvo to pick up the sequins from my container. It's like this little spoon, and it's really handy, especially when you're going to be creating a sequin shaker. So now that this piece is dry, I'm going to adhere it to my standard size note card with Tonic Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive, and then it's time to position that, and then I like to hold that down for a little bit, so I just put some pressure on there with my hands to make sure that it's adhered really nicely and well. Finally, I'm going to create a sentiment banner. I prepped some cardstock with some kitchen flour, and then I stamped a Happy Holidays sentiment on there from the trio of 3 stamp set from My Favorite Things. I'm sprinkling on some opaque bright white embossing powder from Wow. This is the super fine version. And I'm just going in with a little brush to remove some embossing powder that's stick to my cardstock, even though I used kitchen flour to remove the static cling. I noticed that especially when you're using dark colored cardstock, the embossing powder tends to stick everywhere. So just make sure to use a little paintbrush or a makeup brush to remove any embossing powder. After cutting that paper to a V-shaped banner, I adhered it on my card with some foam adhesive. And there you go, that finishes up this ombre sequin shaker. Overall, this card came together really quickly. I especially loved creating this background. So thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for regular updates, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye!